Welcome to another edition of Up and In. I'm your host, Adrian Babashoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show's about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. Today's episode 263, it's supply chain disruption, problems and solutions. We are a solutions-based mindset here, me and all the monkeys in my head. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about what's going on, what can we do about it, and let's just jump in. So the very first thing I have here is how I think it rolls out. How I think it rolls out. I think. I want to really press a lot of emphasis on what I think. It's only my opinion. What I find fascinating and hilarious and almost disrupting and disgusting is all of the opinions that people have on different shit, from down from the COVID to supply chain disruptions to the Great Reset. You know what? Why would you unravel? And a lot of people are paranoid about it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. I have no fucking idea what's happening. But I think everybody has no idea what the fuck is happening. All we can do is do our best. So when I say this is how I think it rolls out, and this may make sense to you, and there's a whole other bunch of shit out there, people just pooping out of their mouths, saying stuff that could make sense, right? So we're going to get into how we can deal with this stuff, but here's how I think these supply chains, what happens. So let's take meat industry, for instance, because that's what we have is supposedly a meat shortage, depending on where you're at. And this is United States. I know we have listeners in different parts of the world. But so here's how I think that a supply chain disruption works. So what I want to explain to you is this is not a light switch. A lot of people saying, oh, God, I can't wait till it gets back to normal. That could take a long time, and let's explain how. So in the meat industry, maybe let's work it backwards here. So we have a package of meat that's delivered to the grocery store that you buy, right? Now that has to go to a trucking place, a organization to actually haul that meat to you. Before it gets there, it needs to be packaged. Before it's packaged, it needs to be slaughtered or processed, however you want to call it. From there, it needs to be transported to the slaughterhouse, unless slaughterhouse is right there with where they're raising the meats, the cattle, the poultry, whatever have you, right? So then we have the actual farmer that has the animals living on the property where they're being raised. Those animals need food, so that requires grain, which also goes back to a truck delivering grain to either store or directly to the farmer. That grain needs to be actually grown by another type of farmer, right? And I'm pretty sure that a lot of farmers don't raise their own seeds, so they have to buy seeds from another farmer, which in between all those needs to be delivery. So now we have the whole kind of thing spread out here, right? So what happens when we have a disruption in the supply chain like COVID, where let's just say it's like an intestinal tract, where right at the slaughterhouse is where things got wonky and where we got some constipation, and they says, well, hey, we got to stop, quit sending us cows and stuff, because we can't really process them, right? We don't have the staff, or maybe we got hacked like JP, whatever it was, one of the biggest meat packing industries, which, by the way, wasn't actually the machinery, it was the accounting that got what I learned. Anyways, besides that point, they could have kept things going and just done the accounting later, but wow, that was probably a problem. So now we just look at this thing. Let's start from the beginning. All of this stuff backs up. So that means that when we take it down to the person raising seeds, the farmer, he has a bunch of seeds ready to go. I think he's probably the safest person, he or she, because you could probably package those seeds and store them. They may be good for about another year, 2 years, depending on what you're growing, wheat, sorghum, soy, whatever it is. Seeds relatively have a fair shelf life, but they could be to where farmers want that year's seed. So let's just say that got backed up. They're like, okay, let's just put our seeds in a vault and we'll just wait. Meanwhile, no cash flow. And we talk a lot about on the show, what is the thriving, what is the blood force, what keeps the heart beating of our existence right now in modern society? It's called money, right? So those people who have the grain, they don't got the money this year. So The grower, the person who's going to grow stuff, maybe they grew a bunch of stuff. And this is what happened with potatoes. I saw it was billions of pounds of potatoes. The owners of the farm actually literally had to pay to dig giant holes in the ground and just bulldoze all their potatoes because they couldn't send them out and they were just sitting there rotting. There's literally a guy sliding down a mountain of potatoes that were like probably like 40, 50 feet tall. So I think you guys kind of get the idea here of how the seeds got disrupted, because of the farmer couldn't grow. Why couldn't the farmer grow? Because the slaughterhouse didn't want, the people raising the meats, the animals, they didn't want the animals because the slaughterhouse is shut down. So now let's just say, hey, let's fix this thing. Everything's great now. COVID is over. Everything's back to normal. Flip the switch. I want my fucking steak back. It don't really happen that way. And again, this is just my opinion and how I think, and this is not just the meat companies, the meat in general. This can go for everything, right? You can think of drywall where they got to go get gypsum mined, right? All these, the supply chain gets disrupted, so it just follows along the board like this giant chain. A chain is only as strong as the weakest, link. So that's how we see things. I see things rolling out. Let's just say what really freaks me out is that by the time the grain is grown again, by the time the farmer plants that grain, harvests them, we're talking about, several months. By the time that grain and sorghum and hay and stuff is harvested and sent down to the farm where they raise the cows, I don't know why I can't think about what the proper name is, the cattle ranch, there you go. Now they've got their supply. They got to raise the babies, right? Who's raising babies? Babies take a long time for development. So everything is in sequential. There's a lot of things that need to happen, sequence of events, in order to get the machine back running. And that's exactly what it is. One can't work without the other. We can't function without the grain. We can't function without the hay. We can't function without the meat. Can't function without the supply. We definitely can't function with transportation to get things over there, right? So that's kind of how I think this rolls out with a lot of different things. What inspired today's show is that I actually went to. I'm working on my garden, which I'm at right now. This is one of my businesses that I'm starting. And I just called in to see if I can get my members who are part of my garden club, can I get them some soils? There's a lot of people asking, I've got all this trouble with my soil. I got gophers and diseases and all this. And I said, well, container garden. I'll teach you how to make some soil. So before I even made that video, I called up my supplier. And they says certain things like peat moss. They have not had peat moss for over 4.5, 5 months. They've been empty. The stock, there's nothing in the store. Vermiculite is another thing that I use. Also has been gone. And in fact, they expect and they cannot promise that by January 2021, they'll have a big shipment coming in, and whatever comes in is already spoken for. It's already been paid for. So if you want it, you better prepay for it now, and we can't even secure you a price. You can take your deposit, but as far as like $30 a bale of peat moss, it may be 40, right? It may go up. We're going to talk about that why. So that really got me. Right now, there's a supply chain shortage. Well, I left on my mini retirement. I've been gone for like 6 weeks. And I'm not sure if the problem's resolved, but we also have a resin problem and coatings for roofs and stuff like that, which is my other business that I run. And they have a supply chain shortage. They don't have the resins. They can't get stuff transported and made to actually make these coatings. I think it even happened before I left. I went to a paint store and their shelves looked pretty barren. I didn't even notice until the gal over there, the gallon of paint I wanted to buy, she goes, I think I got one more left. Let me go check. And I says, you think you got it? And I looked and I says, oh my God, everything's been wiped out. And same thing. They says they didn't know when the supply was going to come back in. So that's what really inspired the show today. And the next thing I want to talk about is the great everything shortage and why. So some of these shortages, and again, this is my opinion, the shortages will happen because of certain things, COVID related or the economy, supply and demand and things like that. One of the things I did learn is that during COVID, and I don't know if this is true or not, It wasn't necessarily COVID that disrupted the supply chain. It helped. But what happened is that so many people staying at home put in Los Angeles, anyways, in California, and I believe that's what ships stuff out all over, this to the western area of the country. What happened is so many people were buying on Amazon and online and everything, sitting at home. They couldn't shop in stores. That shopping just went through the roof. People were bored, right? On lockdown, whatever. So there was just this influx of purchasing and things happening. Well, United States doesn't really produce much shit, right? A lot of stuff is imported from other countries because it's a lot cheaper. It's a capitalistic world. That's how it rolls. So what happened is these ships would actually come to the ports of Long Beach, California, and Los Angeles. And what happened is there was so many ships that were there that the other ships couldn't get in, right? So they'd park, and then what would happen is they'd offload the boxes. But while they're offloading the shipping containers and getting everything all sorted out, there was oil and stuff coming in. There's all kinds of goods. Some of these boats, it is said, would sit there for 6 weeks to 8 weeks out on the ocean waiting just for a spot, right? And then because of the COVID, though, the truckers and all that, things got disrupted, and a lot of people can't work, and I think a lot of people just don't want to work. They think they're getting ahead by getting stimulus and stuff like that, but that's all another subject matter. But there wasn't enough transportation to get everything out quickly enough. So you see how that kind of works. So the great everything shortage, and why I think it'll continue to happen for quite some time, and again, this is nobody has a crystal ball, is what happens when we have supply chain disruptions? What happens? Well, meat happened to go up in price. Wow. Yeah, it did, didn't it? $1, $2 a pound, right? About 10%, sometimes some cases 15%. Depending on the fluctuation of everything. As I said in the past show, metal in the roofing industry has gone up by 45%. So depending on what you're looking at. But interesting that when a supply chain disruption comes, the price of everything goes up. That seems pretty profitable to me, don't you? Right? Excuse my voice too. I'm still getting over that COVID, the Delta. I got phlegm in my throat. My tongue's coated. So why would something like this stop? Why wouldn't all kinds of different companies claim to have supply chain shortages and up the price on stuff? That's kind of what we're seeing in the real estate industry right now. There's a bunch of buyers. I don't know what's going on. I haven't checked in lately, but there's not a lot of houses. The houses that are for sale, I know, at least here in California, and I think some other places too, is going like $100,000 over asking price. People are literally doing bidding wars. So it's definitely a seller's market right now. I think it's wise that people don't sell, because where are you going to go move to? The price of everything's going up. If you purchased your house for $300,000 back in the 90s or early 2000s, and now it's going for $1 million, well, guess what? Your next house is going to cost $1 million. So you're actually sitting pretty heavy. I would stay, but that's a different subject matter in and of itself. But yeah, I can see scarcity as how it's going to make money. And maybe this whole thing is a money thing. I do know that a lot of businesses, I know that if you were getting paid an hourly rate, and let's just say you were making $20 an hour, and all of a sudden we said, hey, Jack and Jill, let's pay you $25 an hour, right? Because inflation is going up, and we really want to take care of you and make sure that you can, move from surviving to thriving. And even though that's only about a small little fraction, the percentage that they're giving you, in contrast to how much inflation is going on with food, gas, meat, and everything. So really, you're in the exact same spot. You're just making $5 more an hour. But let's just say that somebody took that $5 away and says, okay, well, now everything's done. You're on your feet. We're just going to take that $5 away and only just pay you $20 like we used to. Very difficult for individuals to do that. I think a lot of individuals, companies, corporations, businesses would probably say, God, it was really nice making $25 an hour. I don't think I'm going to, if you had control of your finances, you would say, well, I'm going to stick with $25 an hour, or I'm going to go somewhere else that's going to pay me $25 an hour. So you can't really raise the prices and then lower them, I think in some instances you can, but I think it's definitely could possibly be a money-making scheme that's going to go on, and I really doubt that things are going to go down. I don't understand how this plays out. This is kind of why I'm doing the show as well, is that how are a lot of people supposed to survive? How are they supposed to make it? I don't understand. Because the pay rates ain't going up. The pay rates haven't been going up in a very, very, very long time. Here in Sunnyside, California, where I live, if you look at the pay rates, they just barely move up. And look at the cost of living, rents and mortgages just skyrocketing up. They don't match, right? If you looked at a bar graph, the bar graph on pay rates just raising about an inch every year, whereas the value of homes, of the cost of homes and rent and mortgages is just raising a foot every single year. It's ridiculous. So that's why I think we have a lot of people struggling and things like that. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't fucking have to be that way. I'm living proof. I live a very comfortable life. That's another thing, I guess, why I'm doing this show here is because of the freedom. And I don't really realize how much freedom and how much control of my life I have until I observe other people. And a lot of there's people out there that look really rich. They've got the car, they've got the house and everything, but they barely, as statistics tell us, have, a few $1,000s at the bank at any time. They may be able to scrape by for a month. The average middle class American, definitely Californian. So it is an inspiration for me to look and say, wow. Looking at the mindset, and I guess that's a podcast in and of itself. We've talked about that a lot on here, giving a shit what other people think about you, focusing more on the aesthetics of things instead of the functionalities. And I really do. I look at these things as a huge problem with people, and they're just not fucking getting it. And we're going to have a sour taste in our mouth. They, here in California, this is kind of off, but I guess on subject, the moratorium for renters, meaning for those of you who don't know what that is, that's where they give safety for the renters. The owners can't kick the renters out. Well, that ends. That ends here, I think, September 4th. There's probably some other things they're going to put in place, some stimulus and things like that. But, man, I really see a lot of people as just teeter-tottering. They're on the tip of a fucking pyramid, right at the sharp-ass point, and one slight little breeze tips them one way or the other, the whole house could fucking come down. And living the way I have, I think that's why I've had the successes and the less stress and the comfort of looking, going, you know what, everything's going to be okay for at least 2-3 years. We'll be just fine. Which brings me, so I guess I'll talk about that. This is my next note, is why I've become somewhat, and I want to emphasize that, somewhat of a prepper survivalist. So meaning, I'm not armed to the teeth. I live in the countryside of the city of San Diego. I'm about 30 minutes from San Diego proper. Like, if I needed to pick your ass up from the airport, you were going to come fucking visit with me and hang out and talk about bitch and shit, how we could save the world, and the animals and trees, people and everything, what we can do. And we just hung out and we were like, yeah, dude, let's grab a 12-pack of beer, go sit at my favorite beach I'll take you guys to, where the water's super warm right now, get some sand crabs and go fishing and talk about how we can change our lives and the world and how we can improve it to make it even better. It would take me about 30 minutes. That was a little bit of a rant. That would be super fucking cool though. Meet somebody. But yeah, let's go. Why become a somewhat of a prepper? I'm going to start out with the islands of Hawaii. I wanted to move to the islands of Hawaii several years ago. In fact, I went there. I lived with a community for a while in the jungle, and and it was just kind of checking stuff out. One of the things I really looked at, besides my biggest reasons why, is there's tons of water. It's tropical. You can grow stuff almost year-round over there. Although the summer times, in my opinion, which can be manipulated, are almost kind of like the winter, where it's just too hot to grow stuff. But yeah, the food production was one of my biggest things. And one of the things I found, besides the rat lung disease, which snails and slugs grow, put slime all over your kale and everything. You got to wash it all off and wash every little nook and cranny. If you don't, it's so fucking bad that you'll want to kill yourself, right? The rat lung disease is fucking horrible. Is the food production system that we have there. And when we look at the island, and you can consider what I look at as each individual, you are an island of Hawaii. You're Maui, right? You're fucking Maui, bro. Get some tats, from Moana. Those of you who have kids understand. Those of you who don't, You should watch it. It's a powerful fucking cartoon. It's not just made for kids. But anyways, let's pretend you're your own island, because in my opinion, you are. What do you have on your island? When I looked at this, 95%, I think it was, of the food, unless something's changed since then, is imported from different places. They're not even growing their own fucking food. Yes, they are growing sugarcane, I think still, pineapples and things like that, but not a big, giant variety of stuff. So what would happen if there was a huge supply disruption? What happens if there was a huge fucking natural disaster? You're fucked. Remember we talked about, okay, well, fuck you. I got the plan. I'm going to grow my own fucking food. How long is it going to take you to grow food? Do you even know what you could fucking grow? Where are you going to get the seeds? Do you have a seed bank of food, or seed bank of seeds that are stored, especially in a tropical environment, mind you? And so, maybe you can grow some lettuce. You'll have lettuce to harvest in probably about 30, 60 days. 60 weeks. No, 60 days, I'm sorry. 60 days, you'll have a full head of lettuce, but that's not going to really feed you, depending on the size lot that you have. Lettuce is not very filling. Kale and things like that, as soon as you plant them, depending on what type of year. Are you in the summer? So, and by the way, seeds in tropical environment, they don't really keep very well. It's very hard to keep everything without moisture attacking it. And there is ways, right? But are you prepared? Do you need to order where your seed's going to come from? So we have a big, huge problem. The water table was another one. The water table, if you can imagine, there's lots of rain. Let's just imagine you as Maui, the island, have all these little nooks and crannies and things like that. And they fill up with water, and then they sink to the ground, because that's what water has a tendency to do, is follow the path of least resistance. And we have this aquifer on this little island in the middle of the fucking ocean, right? What I've learned is that by depleting the water, if you depleted it too much, what happens? Let's just pretend like you get a Ziploc bag, right? And you fill it with water, and you seal, you don't have to seal the top, but you kind of press on the side of the bag. It's got some pressure, it bounces back. It's got some buoyancy. What happens when you start to empty it and you push on the empty part? It just starts to get less buoyancy. When we have, I don't even know, billions, trillions, quadruple fucking dillions of pressure around the island with water pushing on something, all it takes is for one little weak point to where that aquifer, that water was at, for the ocean to penetrate. And once the salt water enters into that aquifer, which people are sucking the water out for raising some grass-fed beef, not on a very large scale, but for pineapples, sugarcane, agriculture, and things like that, they're just sucking this thing dry, not to mention the people that live there. And once that salt water gets in there, guess what? You are fucked. So unless you can capture rainwater for just simple drinking to survive, you're fucked, man. Well, I'll go buy bottled water. How are you going to live on that? How are you going to produce your own food? And what if the supply chain gets disrupted? So there was many, many things like that that I look at as complete isolation. And it's a system. And again, this is like each individual that I see, and myself included. We are our own separate islands. The difference between people like me, why I'm somewhat of a prepper, not the guy with the bunker and everything like that. I have a shit ton of seeds that I'm growing. I have the know-how. That's been my biggest thing too. A lot of individuals, I noticed, don't even have like a simple pair of pliers, right? And even if they did give them a pair of pliers, they don't even know which end to grab, and they don't know how to fix things. They don't know how to do things. They don't have the experience. So if someone was forced into a situation to live kind of like the way I do, this didn't happen just overnight. I'm not fucking lucky. I worked my fucking ass off, as many other individuals did as well. We start looking at things, for what they really are. Maybe things that will never happen, but we're still good. I'll talk about prepping a little bit. What are some of the things that you can do? Well, in prepping, the way I've just modern survivalism and things, podcasts and shows and stuff that I've read and things I've come up with my own, is one of the things you're going to do is you're going to get fuel, right? Why are we going to get fuel? Because if there was a blackout, which holy shit has happened probably 4 times this year on me. And why is that important and significant? Because I like to buy food in bulk, which I buy for cheaper by buying Giant in bulk. Second, I don't have to go to the grocery store as frequently, so I'm saving a lot of money. I grocery shop in my freezer and my fridge and my farm, which is sitting next to me. Not all of it either. No, it's a very good quantity though. But what happens when there's a blackout? All that food in my refrigerator and freezer is going to thaw out, and we're talking about a couple hundred, if not thousands of dollars of meats and frozen vegetables and fruits and things like that, preserves that I've made. They all go down the shitter. So what is what is the best plan? The problem I see with people, and this is a philosophy of prepping that you can look into life, is that they're not thinking right? Well, maybe I'll just insulate the whole thing or something, and I'll go invest in this thing that I'm not going to use. No, what we want, how about this? What if we went and got 6 5-gallon gas tanks? It'd probably be best to have 12, but I don't really have the money. I like to buy good quality. So what if one was to buy 6 of those jerry cans, the old Army metal ones, and they were to fill up those things, those containers with gas, and they had 30 gallons of gas always sitting in their garage or storage unit. And what would happen if the power got shut off for more than half a day or an entire day, dead midsummer? Well, let's just call him Maui. Maui would go over on his island and go to his garage, and he'd pull out that gas tank, and he'd get himself his very highly efficient generator, which serves many purposes that you can take camping, that you can use for your business, which is my primary thing to using for when there's no electricity. So it's something I use and need anyways, right? Excuse me. There's many other uses for it too, but what does that thing need? It needs gas. And if you get yourself a really good, I think it's the Honda, I'm not sponsored by anybody, by the way, guys. I pay to do this show. I got the Honda EU 1000, I think it is. I paid about $1,000 for it back in the day. They're probably a lot more now with the supply chain disruption and all that kind of stuff going on, inflation. But I take that thing and I can hook it up. I get 2 of them, and I can get this little horseshoe adapter, which will power my entire trailer. So as nobody has electricity, I'm running my refrigerator, my fans, my air conditioner maybe, and everything. And this thing will run about 8 hours on I think it's like a quarter gallon of gas. So with all the gas that I have in my storage, I'm good for maybe about a week, right? What happens when it goes on to probably about 6 months, right? What we're going to do is we're going to mark out our gas tank as January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Let's just say, I think up to June. What we're going to do is we're going to fill up all these gas tanks, and we're going to know that by next year, let's just say right now it's August, right? When I'm recording this show, I know that in January, the gas tank that's the 5 gallons that's marked January, I need to dump that in my vehicle. Get where I'm going with it? I'm already needing gas. In fact, I bought 30 gallons of gas before the hike went up, and I think I probably got maybe about $200 I saved on gas by purchasing. Also, I want to say earlier, my soil that I purchased, I bought that when I saw the supply chain disruption happening in early 2020 after the COVID hit, and I warned people and talked about it. Nobody listened, and I asked if they wanted to buy in with me. So I bought myself a couple pallets of soil. I'm good to go. I mean, I can quadruple my farm here, which I'm planning on doing, no problem. And if I wanted to buy that stuff, which I couldn't even buy it, I bought it for about, I would say, a quarter of the price cheaper than what I'd pay for it now. But anyways, getting back to the gas. So yeah, I pour that gas in my tank and I'm off. And then I refill that thing, and I know that in January that can was filled. So I know that I don't want that gas to sit there for more than 6 months. I could also write July on it, so I know the or the date when it's filled up. I could put a little sticker on it, and I know that in July I need to dump that same tank. And every month I dump one of those tanks, so I always stay in rotation. It's a little bit of an investment. I've only purchased 6 because they're about $100 a piece, these jerry cans. So I'm not just talking about gas, though. I'm talking about everything in your life. We're going to purchase things. We're going to do things because it's what we're using. It's not like food that someone would buy earthquake food and stick in a 55-gallon barrel or, in a box or something. These survival kits that they sell, I think, is a bunch of horse shit. They charge you a shit ton of money and they barely give you anything. Make your fucking own. Get some peroxide Band-Aids, some gauze and things like that, Neosporin and things that you think you'll need, and store them away. Make your own little kit. So, yeah, in a word, that's why I've become somewhat of a prepper. There's many, many things, as I said. I've got a shit ton of seeds, and let's capitalize on being a survivalist prepper, right? Let's look at things that we can do. This goes into business. This goes into many, many things. I just saved a fucking boatload of zucchini, cucumber, tomatoes, and everything like that, right? I've got a shit ton of seeds. I got a shit ton of soil. What would happen if I just sprouted a shit ton of tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchinis, whatever, a bunch of plants? I did about 100 tomatoes, 100 zucchini, and I kept those for an emergency in case we have a natural disaster, a heat wave, or bugs come in, locusts come, which has happened at my farm. The locusts are here, and they ate almost everything down when I was gone on vacation. My farm did not do well. But what I have is a whole bunch of seedlings ready to replace those. Now I got these seedlings, and I'm sitting here as a business person going, man, I'm just going to throw all these seedlings away. Wait a minute. I have about 180 people, I believe, or 200, I can't remember, members that are interested in what I'm doing for my garden. What if Home Depot sells these things for $5 a piece? What if I went and sold my members a member's fee for, let's say, $100 a year? You get a discount off seedlings, and I'll sell them to you for $2.50, half the price, right? We look at 50 times $2. That's $100. That just paid for itself, and more than paid for itself. And it creates me a business. I can add other things to that. I can swap seeds, I can trade seeds, or I can sell seeds. I can sell my soils. I can educate people on how to grow. If you become a member, you don't even know how to grow, and you want to become a prepper survivalist like myself, a somewhat of one, and you want to grow a lot of your own food just in case, or maybe you're just sick of the poisons and the radiation, whatever the fuck they're doing to plants, that when I grow fucking food, and I take arugula from my fucking farm, wash it, clean it, dry it, put it in a bag, go buy some organic arugula from the store, and put that side by side, mine rots within a couple days. That shit from the store still hasn't fucking rotted. So you get pretty sick of that fucking shit, and you say, I want to grow my own fucking goddamn food. Yeah, that's one of my big reasons. And you can't trust anybody. So let's just say you wanted to do that, but you didn't know how. Well, for another $100 a month, I'll coach you out. That comes out to what, like $7, $8, I think about $8 a month. And you have any problems, you can call me. We can live chat, video chat on the phones. Show me what you got going on, and I'll kind of coach you through. If I had about 1,000 people, what did I think 100 people, and I charged them $200, depending, that's up anywhere of the vicinity of $20 to $30 to even $40,000. Raise that up, and you can actually make probably about $50,000, $60,000. Let's just say you had 1,000 people, and that may be a six-figure income. All the while I'm building business, helping my community, I've got seeds in case of a catastrophe happens. I've got seedlings, and I continue to save these things. It just gets bigger and bigger. And then let's look at the taxation on that. The man's going to come and tax me on the seeds that I'm growing and the vegetables that I'm sprouting. It's going to cost me $0 because you can't fucking tax my shit, assholes, right? And they can't tax yours either, people, right? These are fucking free. ROI, return on investment. You invest in something, you buy a house, and it was worth, as we said earlier, $300,000. Now, 5 years later, it's worth fucking $1 million, right? But that's all money, and there's taxation involved. When you get into planting, growing your own food, it just keeps getting better as far as flavor goes, by the way. Let's not even mention that. But it starts reproducing itself. It starts returning itself on investment, tax-free, 1,000 times fucking fold. So that's the kind. How are we going to combat these supply chain shortages and any shortages and any fucks that's going to be thrown our fucking way, right? Which we have no fucking idea about. We got to do our best, man. So I guess let's move on to my next one before I start fucking yelling again. How to move forward. How do we move forward, right? We need to do the best that we can as individuals and know that nothing is for certain, whether times are good or bad. A lot of these things, as I spoke about gas tanks and fucking food, I didn't mention about sprouting your own sprouts and microgreens and kefirs and sauerkrauts and kombuchas and stuff like that. The list fucking goes on, which all could be turned into businesses to make money as well. Multi-stack functions. We need to do our best because no matter whether it's good times or bad times, nothing is for fucking certain. As I record this show, I think there's a hurricane that hit. I haven't looked much into it. in Louisiana, and it disrupted. I think it's a category 1 or something like that. So at any time, earthquakes, where I live in California, we could have a major earthquake. Bridges could collapse. How the fuck are you going to get to the grocery store when just one bridge, the amount of fucking disruption that could happen, or if the electrical grid went out? Many, many things. And let's just look at the fact that even if none of these things ever fucking happened, man, Maui, that island of that individual called Maui, man, they're capturing their own rainwater. They're growing as much food as they can. They're very smart about producing their own energy. They've got their mindset together where they're like, you know what? A lot of this needs to happen. I need to get an equal balance of money, happiness, spirituality, right? Growing food makes me happy. I can sell, I can trade, I can barter. I'm in a very good spot. I've saved up for emergency funds because I do understand that life is a business. The United States, most countries, I think, are a business because there's money being transferred and taxes and things like that. And you know what? The majority of people don't produce their needs. They're a consumer, not a producer. So they got to go make what? Money to pay for stuff. So we have it. Maui knows this, and Maui says, wow, I can see wealth in life that isn't so much just about money. What could I do to actually lessen my dependency on needing that money to go purchase my goods? What are things that I can do? And Maui finds out that there's, a lot of shit you can do that's tax-free. All of a sudden, Maui starts finding that he has more time on his fucking hands, or her hands, right? And they're growing stuff. They feel happier. In fact, Maui's feeling really healthy because of all the organic vegetables that she knows. It's a hermaphrodite I'm talking about, by the way. Jokes. Probably lost half the fucking audience now. Get in trouble. I don't fucking care. It's all jokes, folks. But yeah, they're feeling really good. They had this time on their hands. They're eating really good vegetables. The food, the best tasting food, the tomatoes and everything tastes way better than the supermarket. And actually, what to a person when they eat something super tart, sweet, and good? It makes them happy. What does a happy body feel like? Happy body sleeps good, feels good, gets in a positive fucking mood. But Maui just keeps looking and going, man, I'm experiencing more and more freedom every single fucking day. This is not the way life, the way I lived before. That's not the way life's meant to be. Now that I tasted it, now that Maui's been on this side of the fence in their own garden of spirituality and the self and the mindsets and everything, Maui says, I don't ever want to go back. In fact, I want to find other people. Sound familiar? So anyways, we do the best we can. And one thing I want to say is that there's a lot of people that I know, which I just have to disregard now. They're like, yeah, what is going to happen if the whole fucking country goes down? Then where are you going to get your seeds? And then stronger people than you will come and steal your shit. Some fucking other country could come and invade this place. You know what? At that level, everything's fucking done. There's nothing you can do. But wouldn't it be nice if that never happened, which there have been a lot of things that people have predicted throughout the decades and the years, which are news media and social media and a lot of assholes like myself who have these really great ideas sometimes and things make so much sense, where you're like, that's it, that's what's happening. And then we wait a few more years, never fucking happened. Wait a couple more years, nothing ever happened. 10 years, 20 years, nothing ever fucking happened. The whole story of live for today, for tomorrow we die. Well, 20, 30, 40 years later, you're still alive. You have no home. You have no land. Your health is shit. You have no backup money. You're kind of depressed and sad. You've worked your whole life, so you're worn out, pissed off, confused of what the fuck just happened to me, right? That's no way to live. So we got to do the best we can. And I think that if we all, the more we do, the better, the sooner we do it. Sometimes, like today, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plants that I'm going to plant, right? And I may not get too much there. Zucchini and cucumber, for those of you asking. I live in California. I chose California in the past. I'm thinking about getting out, but the weather's fucking absolutely perfect. So I think these things are going to grow well into probably mid-October, maybe till October 31st. I don't know. We'll see. But definitely going to harvest some stuff off these things. As I said, my garden got disrupted. It got fucked over. So I got these new seedlings to plant and tomatoes. And I should do a video. I don't know. You guys got to comment. Let me know if you guys actually want to see what the fuck it is I'm doing. But guys, we do start with many little steps. We learn how to sprout say mung beans, right? Well, mung beans, now that you sprouted, maybe they got infected or something and it didn't work out. You washed your jar, you tried again, you sprouted some more mung bean sprouts for your Asian dish. Next thing you know, you had success and you kind of learned, well, that's what goes, that opens up your door to many things. And mung beans are fucking expensive now. All food's expensive. I think everybody should start growing a lot of their own food, man. This shit, as I said, I don't think the prices are going to drop. I think they're just going to keep going up. But one thing leads to another. One thing leads to another. You learn how to do the mung beans. Now you know how to do alfalfa and all these different things. You've got this experience. And it just keeps snowballing more and more and more. As I said, you become Maui and then you start becoming very comfortable. You would say this is all overwhelming. Just pick one thing at a time. Even if you're growing your own food, tackle tomatoes. Each individual plant has its own problems. Tomatoes have hornworms. They have all kinds of different blights and stuff like that. And it is my opinion that you have a weak species and maybe you should grow a bunch of different ones and kind of experiment, like 5-10 different varieties. And save your seed from the ones that were good. Those has good genetic information, good genetics that you can replant for next year. So start with one and master it. Then move on from tomatoes once you got that down to cucumbers. And as you... I'd like to share for you guys, those of you marijuana fucking smokers, you fucking potheads, if you learn to grow tomatoes, guess what mimics tomatoes? Weed. Anybody who grows weed, well, probably not anybody, but majority of people, when they needed information and continue to this day, they look at how much soil do you need and nutrients for a tomato. Tomato's a heavy feeder and all that, and I guess the hornworm likes to eat the weed too. I'm not sure, I don't grow it, but yeah, see how it goes into one thing. You can fucking make yourself a tomato or some fucking Italian food, and then you can get high as fuck off the fucking weed that you're growing on the other side. Which is in turn going to make you eat your more fucking food. All right, so I'm going to move forward here. My original version called Citystead. This is like my own word. Let me clear my throat with some water here. Sorry about all the coughing. I know they say you shouldn't apologize because then it makes you less of a man or it makes you less of an authority. Like I said, who gives a fuck what people fucking say? But what I've called is city-steading. And when I think about this, when I started the show a few years ago, I thought to myself, who am I directing at? And I think it's a wide variety. I don't care if you're making a 6-figure income or something like that. If you lived the life that I could, imagine the amount of money that you would save. Fuck, dude, how much money you would save and how much investing you'd be able to do, and then go buy the McMansion and all that, then do 2 chicks at the same time, or 2 dudes, whatever it is you're into. But when I thought about this, I think that the majority of people is the city-steads, is the city people. And what do I mean by city-stead? Is there's homesteading and things like that I looked at, and this is what I hope to... what I'm actually doing myself. That's what I want to share. It's not the only thing I'm doing, but it's a large portion of it. And I call it Citystead because I live in the city. I live in an RV, in a mobile home park. An RV park. I live there full time. I pay a fraction of the price of rent. I don't really have much of a yard, but in my yard, I've invented something where I'm growing, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 different varieties, or up to, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Yeah, 60 plants I can have going at one time in my tiny little fucking yard. My yard is maybe 15 feet by 40 feet. There's a 10 by 8 foot shed that's on there. I have outdoor equipment, barbecue, refrigerators, freezers, not a lot of room. I'm able to grow my food in about a 4 by 10 foot area stacked up. So that's probably a podcast in and of itself, but I call this city-steading because that's what I'm exactly doing. We're fermenting, we're growing a lot of our own food, we're spin farming off other people's property, meaning where I'm at right now, I don't own the property. For those of you watching the video, you guys can see my garden back there. I don't own this property. I lease it through paying the water bill and giving the people food. So, and I call this city-steading, and that's who I was after. That's the experience I have. We've got to talk about what we know about, right? So I looked at that and I said, there's a lot of people in the city, and what would we call this? Because when I would Google search homesteading, it's someone with like 3-4 acres of land, some people with an acre. There's some people with, half, like in the city doing stuff, but I'm like, that's not homesteading, right? Homesteading is basically gardening, large scale, being able to raise animals, and stuff like that. And I guess you can classify it or you can move it around, but I thought that in order to lock it in would be called citysteading. So maybe one day I'll write a book about it. I don't know. But that's kind of all the things you're going to find throughout all the episodes here is what could we do from the city and basically citystead. So citysteading is about taking control of your life, no matter where you're at. As I said, it's for the poor, for the middle class. I think even for some of the rich people. I think a lot of people who are rich, some of them didn't get there by hard work. I think some of them it was given to them. So I think that they can learn some things off the lifestyle that I live and others like myself. But I think we are definitely here to help the planet and leave a less of a mark on a skid mark from the fucking assholes of humanity. We already spew enough out of our mouths, but we're actually wiping our asses with the earth and flushing it down the toilet. And I'd like to help stop some of that. Oh God, this throat, man! I can't wait for this COVID thing to be over. So yeah, it's been when I think about the day I leave this earth, when I die, or I look back for my kids, what would I want to leave behind me? And I always think I'd love to make a big difference. I love to help people. And one of the biggest places I think that we need to go to is the city. It's the cancer. It's the fucked up area of the world. This is where a lot of shit is going down. A lot of pollution, a lot of land. Like when you take over a city, you kick nature out. Yeah, you plant a fucking couple trees and stuff like that. But where are the coyotes, snakes, and most of it? Where's the microbiology? A lot of people are coming in here with pesticides and weeds, herbicides. They're spraying shit and stuff, poisoning the whole earth, the earthworms, the microbiology. There's life on many, many levels that I think a lot of people don't get. What would happen if I could give a ripe tomato or some basil and some herbs to people, cook them some soup with fresh herbs instead of dried herbs, and tantalize their taste buds, and where they look and said, I want to do that, but I don't have enough time. What if we were able to teach you to have time? Remember the Maui individual. If they started practicing a lot of these things, they would find more time on their hand. They would find more pleasure in life, on spiritual to everything, even the monetary. They'd be saving a shit ton of money. They'd be able to decide where their money goes and how these things could work. So what better place to tackle to make a difference in the world than in a city? And I believe the garden systems that I have, which I think I've shared on the show, but just gardening in general, if every other house did this, we'd have more butterflies, we'd have more bees. And sad thing is the bees would probably go in someone's attic and they'd probably hire Orkin or some fucking pest company to come out and spray the shit out of them, kill them, or somebody would relocate them. But all of these things, I don't want to get negative, I was just joking, but these are some of the possibilities. But I think even with bees, people can raise bees in their fucking backyards or on a piece of land like I'm at for free. There's another one. You can just go to people's houses if you really learned your shit. Go get the queen bee and start another hive on a spin farm property. Or you can go to someone's lemon orchard like where I live and place these bees strategically to pollinate the plants, and they'll actually pay you to do that. And in contrast to getting paid, or in conjunction with getting paid to put these box bees and manage them for the farmer, you get a little byproduct called honey. And it perpetuates itself. The hive will split. And you're getting stuff for free. We got to start thinking this way, baby, right? I didn't mean to call you guys baby. Unless there's a really beautiful woman out there that likes to be barefoot, no mini skirts and stuff like that, but maybe dark hair and just nice, that loves to be, doesn't afraid to be dirty, beautiful, but willing to work, willing to live below our wages and travel the fucking world, maybe, and you could deal with a fucking gorilla like this, bald-headed fucking 6'4" fucking Russian animal. If you're able to bear that, then drop me your message. But anyways, let's move forward. I think the last thing I want to just say here is all of this pull in conjunction, everything that we've said. I want to save the world. I'd love to make a big difference in the places. And I think if every other person garden and just replace their trees with edible trees and things like that, we can change this world so fucking fast. And we could live free and feel good. And my question on my last note here is, do you really want someone else controlling and designing your life for you? And what do I mean by that? I think if you don't know what's going on, that your freedoms are being taken away, a lot of these things sound like conspiracy theories, but I look at them and I say, yes, when I watch people, a lot of these people don't look fucking happy. A lot of them have the appearance of wealth, but they don't. If we all just ante up and says, well, how much of a emergency fund do you actually have? Let's just show it. That's it. And what do you plan to do with that? What exactly how are you going to feed yourself? Where's your fuel, your energy? All of these things going to come from? Nowhere. They're sitting fucking ducks, and I think they fucking know it. And I think a lot of people are stuck because of their mindsets and things like that. And like these ones, like, why do anything, why you got your farm going on here? Somebody's just going to come and steal it from you and everything, the whole world is just going to end, COVID's going to take care of everything. We're all going into concentration camps and shit like that. But what if we fucking don't, right? What if we break away from that negativity and do the best that we fucking can? And I think a lot of people don't really realize that a lot of your freedoms are being taken away. You are mentally programmed. Our children are getting mentally programmed. It's my opinion. Where, for instance, like we say, and you don't need to take this from me. I get my information from the rich, from billionaires. They will tell you that public education is actually fucking up kids in many, many ways. Not all, but many, many ways. They're programming kids. You have to ask permission to go piss, right? You got to do a bunch of shit you don't fucking like to do. That's life anyways. We all got to do shit we don't like. But how are you supposed to ingest information? As I said, the learning pyramid. Look it up. Look up the fucking learning pyramid. What's the worst way to retain information? That's what the public education system is doing. According to billionaires and millionaires and investors and a lot of people, they say is that, when you get out of school, and I've said on this show, I haven't heard anybody say this, but as a job, as a parent, as a job of the school, is to prepare this young individual to be able to go out in life and fend for itself. Yet when this kid gets out of public education, has no idea about finances, how money works, that money's even fucking printed, how much, what interest is, right? And let alone you get into a fucking $100,000 or $200,000, however much you want, college where you don't even need your parents to sign. If it makes sense to you and I can convince you to have you sign this paper, yes, you're going to go into debt. Depending on how much you borrow, and guess what? It's for life. Maui, who signed that fucking that agreement, to go to college, you're going to pay for that thing no matter what. There's no way to file bankruptcy. In contrast to Jack and Jill, who bought a house, maybe invested $250,000, and things got bad. They says, well, we're just going to file bankruptcy and let the bank eat it, and they walk away. Not clean. There's some shit that's going to happen when you file bankruptcy. But yeah, this is what I'm looking at. Where do we grow our own food? How do we see the system as designed as a whole? Does anybody know that there's a different way to actually live? I think a lot of people are fooled into get married, have a kid, buy a house, get a job, fucking work 9 to 5, keep working your way up the corporate ladder, and it is what it is, but pay the extra. There's a problem, let's make more money, throw money at the fucking problem, if you even know how to make more money. I look around me, and the point is that a lot of people aren't skilled enough to even, and what it comes down to is what I said is the mindset. It all starts in the fucking mind. I was telling you about the bees we just talked about, right? There's opportunity everywhere, people, but people have been fucking brainwashed to not be able to see this shit. And where does it come from? As I said, it comes from our parents, I think, in this public education system. As we're growing, we see examples, and there are a lot of good ones, and we think this is what is, and it's very hard to shake that. And I'm here to tell you, shake the fucking monkeys out of the fucking tree, right? Shake the fuck out of it. Go out there and grab life by the fucking balls, design it yourself, because you are being guided. With the monetary system, go get a 9 to 5 and pay taxes. What happens when they have a supply chain disruption? Who's disrupted, really? You, me. Those of us who are consumers, right? Not necessarily Maui, the producer. He is to an extent because he still needs things he can't produce, such as oil, pair of tennis shoes, gas, for his car. Although if you did biodiesel, there, see that mindset? You hear that fucking mindset? That's what we start doing. We start thinking this way of how can I utilize the situations around me instead of just saying, going belly up and accepting what's given to us. You know, the sandwich. This is the sandwich you're going to eat. Eat it. You know, this is jump. We tell you when to jump and how high. Put your fucking mask on your face and all these other things going on. This is, we're going to get you into debt, and you should buy a house. You should definitely buy a fucking house. It's the American dream. Buy a house. American dream is fucking dead, people. My opinion. You know, that was a dream. As they said, the American dream. That was back in the 50s, earlier in mid-century, where people, it was very easy after the wars and everything. People made good money. Everything was relatively easy. It was buyer friendly. There was a whole different attitude. Now we look at the spike in things going up. You don't take my word for it. Go look at the top real estate investors. United States is becoming a renter's fucking nation. The majority of homes are being purchased right now, which a lot of people don't fucking know. And when you go to purchase a home, there's not going to be that many of houses. I think that there's some different ways where different rural and fucked up lands that we can use such things as natural farming, permaculture, a lot of the city steading. We can do a lot of this stuff to actually repair the area and actually capitalize as far as if we wanted to make money or just live out our lives producing most of our own food in a large space, living very happy and supplying land for future generations, such as, well, what I want for my kids. If it does become a renter's nation, like they're openly saying that my kids would actually have a place to start their own citystead or homestead, that I can invite them on my land that I own, and they can actually build a house and go forth and do whatever they got to do. Or we all live like a bunch of fucking wolves, in the same den, which I prefer, and be right there with my grandchildren. But that's my fucking dreams. I was talking about the fucking American dream. Now, I think it's over, guys. I think for myself, again, these are all just my opinions. I look at it fucking done, over. There better be a good plan if you were going to purchase land. I think that you should. I know I'm kind of going off here, but what is that land going to produce for you? So that's why I'm saying this system. Let's tie that in. That's actually really, really good. Let's keep going with that one. Go buy a fucking house. That's the next step you should do. You should get a husband or a wife, and you should make some babies, and you're going to live your life in this house and with your babies and everything. Your kid's going to go to fucking school. You're going to go do your job. Both parents are working, by the way, all day. Most of your waking fucking hours are away from your home, and you're going to work 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 fucking p.m., unless you got different hours, and, everything's variable. It depends where you're driving to. Most fucking poor people, I think, and middle class probably live away from where all the jobs are, like I did for many, many years, I worked in Los Angeles. Your commute, how long is your commute? Maybe for, I think, average at least half an hour. I'd say for mine was an hour. Sometimes to Los Angeles from where I live was like 2.5 hours, or 2 hours. That was just one way. So we're talking, let's just keep everything down to an hour commute. So that's 2 hours of your day, 9 to 5. You just worked 8 hours. No, you didn't. You worked 9, 10 hours. You were gone. That's what it takes. I look at your time. Your time is very, very fucking valuable. So when I make $20 an hour, I look at that. No, I'm not. Because what is it taking me? If I was at home and I worked from 8 to 6, I actually just put in 10 hours, right? Or if I worked 8 hours, I would start at 9 o'clock. I would quit at 5. I'd be able to go ferment food, do other things, right? You see where I'm going with that? The gas that's being expended. So you got to look at how your life is being designed and where a lot of fat, where a lot of unnecessary trimmings, things that need to be trimmed off your life are. But when we look at this, you're in the house, maybe Saturdays, like my day, is where you have a barbecue. You're like, fuck, 9 to 5. Monday through Friday, Saturday, we're just going to fucking, mix some drinks, make some barbecue, and just relax today, all right? If you got kids, good fucking luck. You're always doing something. I got a special needs kid, so that's why I always rent. There's always diapers to change. Sunday's the day where we got to clean everything up. You got to mow the lawn, unless you're hiring Enrique and Juan and Bob to do it. There's always stuff that are going on that you'll need to do. Meal prep, you'll need to, I don't know. There's always a lot of things. I think people who are very, very well-to-do don't really need to worry about those things. But I think the middle class and stuff like that, they're doing a lot of shit themselves. And that home isn't really producing much for you is the point I wanted to make. So let's look in contrast to where our friend Maui comes and buys a piece of land. And instead of, a tenth of an acre, which you can still do stuff, he gets himself like a quarter or half an acre. And on that half an acre, he's going to start planting some corn and zucchinis and things like that. He's maybe going to throw an aquaponics system or whatever it is all around. He's going to put some solar panels up. The house is now producing, is what I want to do is cut it short. There's actually food being produced. When we look at it from a quantity, as I say, what I like to do as far as a business and really take Citysteading down to a hardcore science, I look and I say, we need to find out how many pounds of food we're going to grow and what the gross worth is. So, and this is very easy. Google, the internet, there's other things on the fucking internet besides fucking porn, people. I just want to, notify you. But you can actually Google what's the average pounds of a tomato plant. And this varies through the way you're growing it, but you could say, well, 40 pounds. All right. Well, how much is tomatoes? This is actually probably a really good one here. You could say, well, tomatoes, organic grown tomatoes, ripe on the vine, I think right now are like $4.50, $5 a pound. So if I'm able to grow 50 pounds times 5, holy shit, right? And if that's one plant, the math here, I say I'll probably fuck it up. I'm not good on the spot here. That's $250. 50 times 5, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's 50 pounds. And yeah, times 5, that would cost you or make you about $250. And let's just say we did 10 of those, right? And that's just one season. Let's just say we started doing salad. It's about $5, $6 a pound for lettuce and things like that. So you get where I'm going. How much would we need to grow in order to make that house worth it for us to be in? So if you had your life organized like a business and you had gardening systems like I do, container gardening stuff, you can run a full-blown job, a 9 to 5. And you don't need to really actually be in your garden every fucking day. You can automate a lot of stuff, such as using drip irrigation and timers and things like that. So now we switch this around. We're not being controlled. We're actually controlling the situation where you can actually grow quail. Quail are relatively quiet. They produce eggs and meat, and they're very tiny. And they also proliferate. If you had yourself a 1/10 of an acre, even if you had yourself a quarter or half an acre, I've heard stories of people raising quail in their garage. Probably not the best environment. I feel sorry for the quail, but a lot of things are possible. You can grow a lot of mushrooms and stuff like that in your garage, things that don't need so much light, where they need protection. There's many, many things we can do. If we can turn our property, and even those of us who live like me, and I live in 250 square feet, that's my home. If we can start propagating things such as sauerkrauts, fermented foods, and all kinds of different things, yogurts, live cultured yogurts and things like that. Utilize everything we can. Once we get this experience, now we look at it buying a house, an ROI, to help stun or protect ourselves from supply chain shortage and all the other fucky fuck stuff that's going on. I think that's what it's called now for me, fucky fuck stuff. Now we've got some production going in our home. And now we're living our own lives. We're designing our own lives. As I said, that Maui creature has realized that, you know what? There's a whole nother side to this coin. Guys, I think that's what we got to realize. We got to open ourselves up to many of these possibilities. I do advise that we as individuals start looking into survival preparedness. It's not what you guys think. In fact, everything, just like the show I always like to preach, is that I don't have all the fucking answers for any individual. Everybody has different needs. So what we do is we take the best and the best. I've explained to you guys about the gas, right? I didn't explain to you guys about copy cannon and stuff like that. Your rotation. We're going to buy things we're already using. We're going to buy stuff on sale. So not only are we getting an emergency supply, but we're getting stuff cheaper than we normally would buying one can at a time, right? And these are things we're already using. It makes our lives better. What are things that can make our lives better? Move us from surviving to thriving. That's the show, guys. Thanks for listening. I'm going to skip a lot of the outro. You guys know where to go. It's up and in it. Everything's below instead of wasting your time. For now on, I'm not even going to fucking say anything about it. Look at the show notes below. You want to get a hold of me. You want to find where other places about this stuff. Go for it there. The one thing I just do want to say, guys, is this show is fueled by your interaction. If you think I'm full of shit, share your information with me, because the best thing I would love to do is actually talk to an opposing opinion. I love opposing opinions, and I love to learn from you guys. What are you doing? If you agree with me, what are you doing that I haven't mentioned today, or what would you like to see? upandinitshow@gmail.com, or go to the website. You can actually leave me a voicemail there. Call in the show. So, yeah, that's the show, guys. As I always say, go out there and have yourself a near life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it, my friends.